Hey beautiful people, my name's Brittany.
And I'm Connor.
And today we're going to be talking about co-sleeping, and in particular co-sleeping with our 4.5-month-old baby.
Yeah, you and I have been co-sleeping together quite well.
For quite some time.
Quite some time.
We
and
are
then
good at it.
Ilya's come into our lives and we just kept co-sleeping together and with Ilya, our little baby. And that's been going very well. So we wanted to talk about that. Our membership site is growing and we want you to be a part of it.
We have over 100 videos, so many exercises, tons of ways for you to learn, grow, heal, and inspire with us.
Come on over and see what it's all about.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a million things to say, but I feel like, speaking from my own experience, like it just feels so primal and natural.
Yes.
To sleep with this sweet little baby. Like, we're pretty much always attached to them. They're always attached to us or Bridget in some way, where like we're holding them. Yeah, right next to them. And just to finish that thought up, I think that's the way it would have been. Like if we left our baby away from us out when we lived in nature, like they're gonna get scooped up.
Yeah, someone's gonna go sleep with them in some way. I mean,
like
they're gonna get eaten. They're gonna get eaten like a bear. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I love sharing a bed with Ilya and with you, and right now they're with Bridget, and they're pretty much always connected to us. And if they're not, total in a day, I can't imagine. I don't know how long it is, but it's a couple hours maybe cumulative that they're not actually touching one of us.
And I feel like that's when they want to be like in their own little space, just taking a nap or just like hanging on the floor or something. And we're right there.
And that's the way we've chosen to do it because we think it's the healthiest thing for them. And I want to say that I've always regarded co-sleeping as a very healthful practice. And I'm definitely an advocate for co-sleeping. I think it's the best thing that you can do for yourself and for your child. And that's my opinion. And I do want to allow you to have your own opinion and really let you know that I support you in that. And I also was surprised when I went to go get their birth certificate and I went into like the social services office here in Austin, Texas. And I was sitting down. This was like the first, I don't think it was like the fourth day that they were alive in the world. And I was sitting down filling out this paperwork and I was just like looking around and I saw this poster, and it was a huge poster in the federal office here in Texas, and it was an anti-co-sleeping poster, and it was just all about how you're gonna kill your child if you co-sleep with them.
Oh my gosh, it's so terrible.
It's terrible and it's really sad. And I also can imagine that the government and whoever created this poster and who advocated the creation of this poster was doing it out of a desire to protect children from dying in this way. And I'm sure that they have reasons for doing that and that they have evidence that supports their reasons for doing that. And I guess our experience is just so contrary to that. It's hard to sort of understand how those two things can exist in the same world together.
Yeah. And yet, I mean, our world is made up of all sorts of contradictions if you see them that way, or just feelings and opinions and thoughts that all form these different ideas that resonate with us at different times.
Yeah.
And it was cool to read more about co-sleeping because I've always felt naturally drawn to it. Just felt like, of course I want to sleep with my baby. They're the cutest little thing. I want to keep them like right here, curled up with them.
Yeah, and if they need something, it's just like, you're right there. And
yeah, it's so convenient. We feed in the middle of the night and don't have to like get up and do this big hoopla.
Yeah, and I want you to finish your thought, but I just can't imagine them being like waking up and being sad and then like being like, where is someone? And then we're like far away and we don't know. And I just can't imagine that whole process.
I mean, for me, that sounds really hard.
Just like so hard for me.
Being away from them at all is hard. And knowing that they're with you guys is like, that helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like my maternal instinct is just to be with them. And so I will return to my thought, but while we're on the topic, I sleep right next to them. They usually breastfeed and fall asleep like that. Sometimes not, sometimes just, however, sometimes I have like, I'm really like, we're curled up together, and sometimes we're just sleeping side by side. Sometimes they sleep right on the bed next to me, and sometimes they sleep on their little, it's called a Snuggle Me Organic. It's just this little like baby bed cushion
Very sweet little.
It's sweet.
Thing.
And then throughout the night, usually I'm on one side, we wake up and feed a few times throughout the night, and usually we switch to another side so that way Ilya and I can both experience both shoulders. And then whoever I'm sleeping with, you guys can be closer to Ilya or have them on the other side if we want to cuddle.
Mm-hmm.
So we have kind of like a nice fluid relationship with sleeping, and they're just like a really active part of our bedtime space, which is so nice.
Yeah, and it just feels so intuitive and natural, and I'm absolutely convinced that it's the best thing for all of us. And I think that, it is important to talk about the fears that maybe these posters are coming from, the reasons that people put energy into this, and the fear that you're going to roll over onto your little baby and, I guess, suffocate them. And I imagine if you are taking sleep aids, or you drink heavily, or are doing drugs that keep you in a state where you're not as in touch with what's happening when you're sleeping, that could be a legitimate fear. And not to say that it's not a legitimate fear anyway. Fears are fears, and it's okay to have those. I also think it's important to be realistic about our fears. And being that we do talk a lot about all sorts of non-traditional things on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, we get a lot of feedback that is fear-based.
Yeah.
And so I think we have this opportunity to sort of look at maybe what is culturally being manifested through fear. And to sort of look at that and be like, wow, man, people are really terrified around children and around children dying. And that just makes a lot of sense. And, it came up around our free birth, and it came up around different ways that we've chosen to parent or co-parent, and we can only do the best that we can do based on what feels right for us, and we definitely advocate that you do the same. And I think it's also important to maybe look at some of those fears and be like, that's just not really realistic, and just swipe left or whatever. What's the one,
Yeah,
on the...
you did it.
Yeah, okay.
I think, yeah.
Feo. I don't like that fear.
I love you.
I love you too. I got to 4 a.m. this morning.
Yeah,
so.
You're doing great. I didn't. Ilya and I actually had an interesting night of co-sleeping, so it's really fitting that we're doing this video. I think they had gas.
Yeah, they've had gas for a couple days.
Yeah, or I'm just, yeah. So to return to that other thought, it was basically like, oh, yeah, I was surprised to hear about some of the research around this stuff, and actually to find that you can read anything to support what you're looking for. But what I found, for what it's worth, is that co-sleeping actually is recommended often nowadays. And that it's contraindicated. It's not recommended in those cases, like you shared, or other things like that.
Right.
And there's so many benefits to co-sleeping, which I think for me just all feel really intuitive. But if that was something that interested you and you wanted to just Google benefits of co-sleeping, I'm sure you'd see all sorts of great ways that you are connected with your baby, and that aids in their development, in yourself, and all these things. I feel like it's pretty phenomenal and amazing how tired most humans who are like breastfeeding their babies probably are, or just humans in general caring for their babies, feeding their babies, because their babies have small stomachs and need to feed throughout the entire day and sometimes night. It's pretty amazing how well I think that we can function, or I can function, on very little sleep. And I know that I am getting a pretty great amount of sleep, and then also, like, as you can probably tell this morning, I didn't have a lot of sleep last night. And it's amazing. I think part of that is the oxytocin from breastfeeding, and that I don't need as much sleep. And I also think, like, there is this, what I want to say is that I don't feel so overtired like I'm gonna roll on my baby. There's like this amazing alertness and in tuneness that I have with Ilya that I feel, and that also I've heard from you and Bridget, just like in watching me, that like if they stir, I'm like very aware, and it doesn't really matter how much I'm sleeping. So I do think that there are like real primal things built in there for me to be doing this exact thing with them in a really healthful way. And I know for myself, I was curious the first few nights, like, how is this gonna go? And we had the baby bed, and I was like, maybe that's better because I don't know. And once I tried it, it was like very clear, like, I'm never gonna roll on our baby. Or there's just like, there's no way. Like, I'm very aware of them the whole time and caring for them. And yeah, this just feels so natural and so right for me. And the last thing I want to say, which is not related, but I'm going to get it in while it's on my mind, is that there are other options too if you want to try co-sleeping but don't necessarily feel comfortable just sleeping like right next to your baby. There are things called co-sleepers, which I think are like beds that you can kind of attach a little baby-sized bed onto the side of your bed. We have a bed on the floor, so that wouldn't really work for us, but a lot of beds that are elevated, that would work.
Yeah, and like you referenced this little, what's the thing called?
Snuggle Me Organic?
Yeah, and that thing's really sweet, and it does create a little bit of like a barrier, I guess, so you would, I guess, have a little bumper between you and your baby. But I was just thinking about this time when Ilya, it was like the first 3-4 days that they were born, and I was snuggling with them, and I was holding them, and we were both so tired. We really had not slept much for multiple days. And I passed out and then immediately woke up with the thought of like, oh my God, I don't want to kill this baby, because I had just seen the poster, you know? And the frickin' poster is in my head thinking like, oh my God, I'm going to kill them. And of course, it really is ridiculous. I mean, it is so ridiculous. And yet, you know, the fraction, the little teeny, sorry, what?
Keep going.
What
I just have so much empathy for anybody who that's not ridiculous for. That feels really,
totally.
Like, scary.
Absolutely. But you know, it was like I kind of had both things going on. I both felt like this is ridiculous, and I also felt like the fear of this precious, perfect little thing. And of course, I want no harm to come to you. But I also want to provide what I believe is the absolute best life that I can provide for them. And that definitely means co-sleeping, because there's the heartbeat that they can feel, there's the energy that they can feel, their needs are going to be met immediately, there's a hormonal exchange happening, and there's safety that's built up in that space that you cannot replicate with a crib or like a warming blanket or these other things that are sort of meant to mimic co-sleeping. And the safety that we actually physically provide for them and how we feel, I mean, all this data that's being exchanged to me is really, really important, and it's crucial information that needs to be submitted back and forth in those precious moments after their birth. And those are the moments that, you know, I think the fear is the highest.
Right, because it's new.
Because it's new. And so like it all makes sense, and I think it feels important to me in discussing these types of topics that I have a lot of space for people who do have that fear. And it also feels really important to me to still advocate what I believe is the best thing for human beings across the platform, regardless. And I do have a lot of space for people that, you know, want to take caution and precaution and do it in the way that's best for you. And I also think it's super important to say, like, this is a very important thing to stand behind and say co-sleeping is really helpful and awesome.
So that's why we co-sleep. Connor likes his co-sleeping.
I know it's great for me, and yeah, I want everyone to be, you know, happy and healthy, and I want babies to just get the love that they need, and I want parents to feel what's the word? Empowered
To follow their instincts.
Yeah,
and empowered to explore other options, you know, and like, you know, if you're really an advocate of co-sleeping and it feels good to explore, like, how would it feel to not do that? Just like empowered to be open to our natural feedback system through our emotional responses around things and how they're feeling for us instinctively in our bodies without like a poster on the wall or somebody else telling us. And I think the more healthful we get and the more we tune into ourselves, the more readily available that data is right away with like our emotions and the feedback we're always getting.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great way to sum that up.
Sum up this.
Sum up that.
Sum up this.
Get some.
We're changing and growing together. I love you.
I love you.
I love you guys.
Love you.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Hope you like this off-color video.
Mwah.
Bye.